Welcome back. We are less than 48 hours away from opening ceremonies for the World Rowing Championships. Hundreds of athletes from around 70 countries will compete over the next week. The opening ceremony starts at 7 p.m. Saturday night. The event will take place at Nathan Benderson Park in Sarasota. As we just reported, the goal is to bring $25 million to the area. Hurricane Irma was a bump in the road while preparing, but it looks like everything is ready to go for the championships. And joining us tonight is Patrick McNerney, the CEO of U.S. Rowing, and Meredith Skirba, the Executive Director for the 2017 World Rowing Championships. Thank you very much for joining us. We know your schedules are probably pretty busy right now.
Happy to be here.
Absolutely.
Meredith, I want to start with you. You've worked on this project for some time now, and we talked at length, and you're probably frustrated watching the package that not all of it made it in, but I just want to start with your emotions, because this is the finish line and you say this is the part where you get to enjoy it.
I do. I mean, this is crunch time. We're troubleshooting and putting out fires left and right, but this is the part we love. This is what event people get into the business for, watching your visions and your thoughts and dreams kind of come to fruition. So this is exciting.
Awesome. And Patrick, I think you said 20 days ago named CEO, right? Something like that?
20 days ago, that's correct.
Taking over, and what a time to take over. How are you feeling right now, and how are you feeling taking over this year? It's quite the initiation.
Well, with a partner like this, I'm not worried. But no, this is an incredible opportunity to bring rowing back to the U.S. It's been 23 years since we last hosted the World Championships. And I believe that with the team that we have here in Sarasota, we're off to a very, very good start.
Awesome. Meredith, the opening ceremony Saturday, that's a big moment because a goal of yours was to really involve the Sun Coast, and that's kind of our chance to sort of teach these international athletes what we're all about, is it not?
Yeah, I think we're ready to showcase to the world who we are as a community, and it actually starts at 5 o'clock with a really fun festival where we have the Circus Conservatory and inflatables and all of our vendors. We have over 52 vendors there that people can come out and to enjoy and get into the spirit. And it's truly, we talked about this being the event in the world of rowing in the off years of the Olympics. So when you start thinking of that Olympic feeling and excitement, this is their time to do that. And then at 7 o'clock, as we watch the flags of all the countries come in, people are going to feel like they are at an Olympic event, and showcasing all of our entertainment groups and showing everyone who and what we're about here in the Sarasota, Manatee County.
Patrick, you talked about kind of showcasing U.S. rowing, and this is certainly an opportunity to do so. What are you looking forward to this week, and how are you hoping, I guess, this inspires more of a rowing fan base here in the United States?
Yeah, I mean, there's two parts to that question. First, this is the beginning of our quadrennium for the Road to Tokyo, and you're going to see a new team on the water. We're very excited in terms of the team building that's taking place. And second, in terms of rowing itself, having an event in this country is magnificent. I started here in Florida 25, 30 years ago, and we have over 70 rowing clubs in the state of Florida. It's been amazing for me to come back into the sport and to see the development that's taking place.
And you started in the sport in high school in Orlando in the state of Florida. So, I mean, even
correction,
from
Winter Park High School.
Oh, excuse me, sorry, I had to get very specific.
We do.
So even from then to now, I mean, what's the change you've seen in just the state?
I mean, it's when I rowed, which was back in the late 70s, early 80s, maybe a dozen rowing organizations in the state of Florida, and now we have over 70. I mean, to me, that's magnificent.
Awesome. Meredith, I want to go back to you for a second. Infrastructure-wise, how are you feeling? We have the diverging diamond, that is complete, and you said that was a relief for you heading into this as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that the counties have done as a whole to make the experience for all of our spectators and fans and athletes more efficient and effective as they come into the region. As there's an influx of people will be coming in and out of Nathan Benderson Park for 8 days, so having the diverging diamond up and running makes everything a lot more smooth.
Excellent, excellent. Now we are just getting warmed up. We'll have much more on the World Rowing Championships coming up right after we check on our first alert weather. Welcome back. We're talking about the 2017 World Rowing Championships that are taking place right here on the Sun Coast. We're less than 2 days away from the start of that event, and joining us tonight is Patrick McNerney, the CEO of U.S. Rowing, and Meredith Skirba, the Executive Director for the 2017 World Rowing Championships. Meredith, I want to start with you real quick. A question on a lot of people's minds is the investment that the county has made in the park so far, just the area. I think close to $40 million of a public-private investment just in that park. $2.5 million from each county for this event specifically. You said you had a goal of $25 million. You wanted to have an economic impact here, and are you feeling any pressure, or what are you feeling right now with the magnifying glass?
2 years ago, I might have felt the pressure of knowing that was something we had to hit, but we have worked very hard in creating community programming, ancillary regattas such as our Youth Challenge, which is the youth U.S. youth teams that are coming in from all over the country. So above and beyond the existing championship, which is going to be significant in itself, especially hitting the 70 country mark, which is above our original goal of 60. We've created some elements that are going to ensure us hitting that $25 million mark, and we have no concerns. As we were even driving over here, we watched a huge team coming out of UTC Mall covered in bags. That gives me a lot of confidence, and as we continue to watch how things are progressing. Excellent,
excellent. Patrick, I want to turn to you real quick. We were talking before the show about maybe bringing the championships back to the States before that 23-year mark that we waited this last time. I know it's early in your time as CEO, but do you have any plans or ideas for how we can maybe do that?
Well, we know we have the Olympics in Los Angeles in '28, and I'd like to think that between now and then we'll achieve the milestone of bringing it back one more time. I mean, from our perspective, it's important to have these international events in the U.S. And from my standpoint, the fact that we've waited 23 years is too long.
All right, and not to make Meredith sweat since she's here, but how important is this event in your goal?
I mean, I've walked into a great scenario. 3 weeks into the job, we're hosting the World Championships. I have Meredith as a partner, so I couldn't ask for a better place to be.
But is this kind of a tryout almost for the U.S.?
It's a rebuilding year. It's the year after the Olympics. We have a lot of new athletes, and this is part of a program that will put the U.S. crews on the podium in Tokyo.
Excellent. Meredith, back to you here. The boathouse was talked a lot, probably more years back as we got closer. We moved on without the boathouse at Nathan Benderson Park, but we have some questions kind of from fans. Where does that leave the athletes? Where do they have facilities? Where do they spend their breaks? Will they kind of intermingle with the crowd? How's that going to work out there?
Sure. Take a drive by the park today and you'll see over 177 tents that have been built out that are not just your typical tents you see at an event, but they're hard-walled, air-conditioned floors, so they really serve a purpose above and beyond what a typical tent would do. So not having a boathouse is not an issue. We've brought in all the requirements that are needed to host an event of this nature, and for most people they wouldn't know any different, and this is what we're being able to showcase. And as we hear the athletes that are already out there practicing, they're amazed by the magnitude of the venue itself and how efficient and effective it is. So we're getting great reviews thus far.
Yep. Excellent. And how about the fans? What's out there for the fans right now? You know, bathrooms, parking. What are their options right now at the park?
There's a full efficiency of a fan fest with multiple places to go to the restroom, our grandstands, covered areas, because we know a lot of our fans are coming in and the heat will be a factor, but we have plenty of shade options. We have misting tents for those that want to go and get out of the sun and chill off a little bit, or a beer. You know, we've got a big beer garden that people can partake in as well.
All right, it's a good way to draw crowds to certain events, for sure. Let's talk about the international perspective of America, but also Florida. We heard, you know, a New Zealand rower talk about alligators, which I know has come up a few times. What is the perspective of the United States, but also, you know, Florida in the international rowing community?
I mean, it's a wonderful destination. I think what you'll see with the rowing, or with the athletes that are out there, we're a community at the end of the day, and the athletes that I've encountered today, just wandering the grounds, all very excited to be here. And I think this is definitely putting our best foot forward as a community and as a country.
And size also has come up among the athletes. At least New Zealand was saying everything seems bigger in America. They've said that about the park. Meredith, maybe you could touch on that. What's been the perspective so far for maybe some of these international athletes?
Well, I think one of the things that you'll see, just like you go to a different golf course, you know, that everyone you might like, but they're different. Same thing with courses and rowing. And you can go to Aiguebelette, France, which was the last World Championships, and it's covered. You've got the beautiful background of the Alps, but you can only see the last, you know, half of the course. You can only see the finish line, where in our case you can see the whole from start to finish, and that's what's great for spectators, athletes, and fans. So we've got it all for everyone, and I think that's probably where they're looking at it in a very different view.
Awesome. And that leads to a nice question for you, Patrick, and that is, what is kind of U.S. Rowing's perspective of Nathan Benderson Park as a facility in the country?
We're coming back. We've already hosted a number of events here over the past few years. Next year, the NC2A Women's Championships are coming. Our coaches are already talking about bringing our teams down here for training camps during the winter. So this is a venue that is part of our rotation, and you'll see more national championships here in the coming years.
Excellent. Someone who doesn't follow rowing religiously but is in the area, why would they come out to this? You mentioned some of the beer garden and other things, but why would they want to watch U.S. rowing? I guess what would be your pitch to them?
I mean, for the event that's coming up next week, it's the quality of the international competition. We have over 70 countries participating. You're seeing athletes at the peak of their performance, and it's also the opportunity to see effectively an Olympic-style competition in the local community. As we look at U.S. rowing type events, the youth championships were here this past summer. You have thousands of athletes coming from around the country to participate, and while the competition on the water is aggressive, if you like, it's also, there's a lot of intermingling of the athletes and the spectators, and I think it's a great event for the fans to be part of.
All right. Let's talk about some of the challenges of setting up an event here in town. We got the weather forecast with the hurricanes and everything, and it was mentioned in the report, but maybe Meredith, you can talk more in detail about what challenges Hurricane Irma presented, and maybe just what other challenges exist with this area.
So I think there's, first things first, needless to say, Irma put us back on timing. We were very, very fortunate that the type of recovery wasn't as, we didn't get hit as hard as we expected. So you plan for the worst and hope for the best, in which we were, in this case, lucky. But it's interesting that there's been a lot of effects by Harvey as well. So we kind of had that double whammy, because if people understand that a lot of the stuff that's brought in can't always be sourced locally, and there's things coming across country, coming across our containers for the boats, for the athletes. Some got diverted and had to go in different places, so it's delayed their timing, which are critical, obviously, to have the boats to be able to compete. So those things you overcome, and you find backup plans, and you plan, but you have to have B and C in place, so in case anything does happen, you're ready. As a community, we have been extremely, extremely lucky to have 2 counties that are supportive of us, from A to B to A to Z, excuse me, and they've come in, they've jumped in, brought us extra hands, any type of access we can get to make sure things are, even getting containers to the course. They've been running it up the ladder for us in DC so that we can get them through customs quicker to get them here in time for competition. So we've actually had challenges, but as a community, we've overcome them.
And you all have worked closely with Sarasota County Emergency Management, correct? Especially with these weather type things. And what's that relationship been like? How has that been an advantage?
Can't thank them enough, as not being from Florida, coming into this knowing that we were in hurricane season, that's where a lot of their attention was from day one. And so through that, over the last 2 years, our team has been through extensive training. We go into the EOC, we do tabletop exercises to help us prepare. So that was probably the one thing that kept me at ease at some level as I was watching the Weather Channel, because we did know what to do. There was nervousness, but we knew what we had to do to prepare prior to, and what we had to do to recover. And I owe that a lot to the Emergency Operations Center of Sarasota County.
Excellent. All right, well, we have to take another quick break. We'll have some final thoughts coming up when we return. Welcome back. We have our guests here, and they're joining us for some final thoughts on the 2017 World Rowing Championships. I want to start with Executive Director Meredith Skirba. Meredith, what's kind of your last-minute message to fans out there, locals, who maybe want to check this out?
Well, we hope they'll come out and join us as we welcome the world to Sarasota Bradenton. But tickets are starting to become scarce, and so we encourage people to come out. Championship weekend is sold out, except for general admission, which those are still available. And just so people understand, a lot of questions around parking and transportation. All of our parking is in the north lot, right behind UTC Mall. $5 to park. We encourage people to come out and experience something that they've never experienced before here in our community.
And we looked at that map together. That is where Circus Sarasota generally sets up. So
Absolutely.
If you're local, where Circus Sarasota is usually set up, that will be kind of the parking tram area for you all.
Exactly. We'll have people with ability to walk over, or there's going to be trolleys, tram systems, and buses going around. So there's something for everyone.
Excellent. Patrick, let's turn to you for a moment. U.S. youth rowing, possibly on the rise here in the country. Is that right?
No, absolutely. And you just have to look at Sarasota. The gold medalist for the junior men's world championships this past year came from Sarasota. And you just look at the programs, not just here, but throughout the country, they continue to grow. And what we're seeing at a high school level, at a club level, is a number of the junior athletes. And many of them then mature and go to college, and some of them make it to the national team.
All right, and hopefully back here in the U.S. for a World Championship one day.
That's the goal.
We'll see. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah.
Before we go, we do have some thoughts on last night's show. We discussed how the announcement of the CEO of the Central and Southwest Planned Parenthood, Barbara Dravecki, she will be retiring. Dravecki spent 24 years on the job and has big shoes to fill. Planned Parenthood provides many different services to people all across the nation. They provide knowledge to people on what can happen when you become sexually active, STDs, pregnancy. They also provide their customers with birth control, emergency contraception, which is known as the morning after pill, and abortions. It's a hot topic that everyone has an opinion about, so we asked you on Facebook what your opinion is, and here is what some of you had to say. Mallory starts off our comments saying, the more we fund Planned Parenthood, the more abortions we will prevent. Who seriously can't see the logic in funding an organization that's main function is family planning and pregnancy prevention services? Another comment, I am not about abortion. I wish they would stop providing them. However, I am 100% behind prevention, and Planned Parenthood is the way for a lot of young women to do this cheaply. Another comment, you scream women's health care and nobody pays attention. You scream abortion and suddenly everyone is up in arms. It's all a matter of labels. And if you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/myssuncoast.com.abc7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. So thank you to Patrick McNerney, the CEO for the U.S. Rowing, and Meredith Skirba, Executive Director for the 2017 World Rowing Championships, for joining us tonight.